Hi everybody, Ken from Oz here, and welcome to How to Speak Australian, and this is the C words video. So let's get straight into it, and our first word is chewy. Chewy is the Australian word for chewing gum. So if you are wanting to chew some gum, you'd probably go to the shop and ask for a chewy. Chalky. Another bit of candy? Well, in fact, chalky is the Australian word for chocolate. So you want to offer someone a chalky, then you give them some chocolate. Here's an interesting one. To have a captain cook. Well, it's a bit of a rhyming slang, probably from the British history that we have in Australia, but to have a captain cook is actually to go and have a look. So usually you use it when you're wanting to look at something that you don't often look at. So have a captain cook. Crook. Well, you might think it's actually a thief or a burglar, but in fact, crook is what we say when we're not feeling well. So you might say, oh, I can't come to work today because I'm feeling really crook. So, crook. Cobber. Now, cobber's an old Australian word, and we don't use it that often now, but it's still used today, and cobber is your friend or your mate. So you might go and say to someone, well, how you going, cobber? Not often used with younger people. Older people tend to use it. So cobber means friend or mate. Chrissy. Well, Australians tend to put an E on the end, the IE, and Chrissy is what we say for Christmas. So we do use the word Christmas, but we might say, well, what did you get for Chrissy? And or I have to get my Chrissy presents. So Chrissy stands for Christmas. Clicks, an unusual one, but we use it when we're talking about travelling distance in driving. So you might say, well, I've got about 10 clicks to go before I get to my destination. So clicks means kilometres in Australia with the metric system, but it's a measure of distance. Chunder, interesting one again. Chunder means to vomit. So after a good night out, you might wake up and have a good chunder to get rid of it all, and chunder means to throw up. Cocky, well, it's the Australian word for cockroach, and although we don't want to admit it, everyone in Australia, and I guess the world, does have a cockroach somewhere living in their home, and so we would say we have to hit a cocky to get rid of it. Chuck a Sickie. Alright, what does that mean? Well, it means that you ring in to your work to say that you're not well and you're not coming in. So you say that you're chucking a sickie, or you have to chuck a sickie. So what that really means is that you pretend you're sick to stay home from work. So if you're not feeling well today, why don't you go and chuck a sickie? Cozzy. Now, cozzy is the Australian word for bathing suit. Now, it's not used everywhere in Australia, usually in the southern states. In the northern parts of Australia, you might hear the word togs, and you might hear the word bathers, but cozzy is understood all around Australia as what you wear when you go swimming. So grab your cozzy and jump in the pool. Chuck-a-wobbly, another chuck word. Well, chuck-a-wobbly is to describe someone who throws a tantrum. So if you've upset someone and they're really irate, then they would be said to be chucking a wobbly. And usually we say that when we're sort of not happy that they've done that. So usually if your boss is not upset with you and they start yelling or something like that, you can say, oh yes, well the boss chucked a wobbly today. Carkit. What do you think that means? Well, carkit means to die. So if someone was killed or someone died, you'd say, well, they carked it, and that means that they no longer with us. So it's an Australian way of saying, well, yes, they've died. Creamed. Okay, cream can be used in a couple of different ways, but it's usually used when you have done something and you're really successful with it, and you say, oh, how did you go in that race? Oh, I creamed it. So creamed, in this sense, in Australia, we say creamed to mean that we were very successful or we won. So if you're playing soccer and your team wins, you cream the opposition. Clucky. Clucky is a term we use usually when people get a little bit parental when they're around children. So when they're acting a little bit strange because of a baby or a toddler, and you know, they just act a bit unusual, we say, oh, they're acting a bit clucky. So, clucky. Get cracking. Well, if you have to go somewhere and you're about to leave, you might say, oh, look, I better get cracking, I've got to go. So get cracking says I've got to leave right now or start what I have to do. So I better get cracking and go to the next word. Coldy. Well, Coldy is referring to cold beer. So if you're offering your friend a Coldy, they know exactly what you're meaning, and usually it's a great result. So offer someone a Coldy and you'll have a great time drinking alcohol. Cropper. Now, it refers to when someone falls off a horse or a bike and they come a cropper. So you might say, oh, Johnny fell off his bike and he just came off a cropper. Or someone might say, did you come a cropper off your bike? And you'll say, yep, I did, and it really hurt. So come a cropper means to fall off your horse or a bike or fall onto the ground in some way, and usually you hurt yourself. Cooee. It's a very old Australian word that we use to call people. Usually you call it out really, really loudly and in the bush, and it's a bush signal, but we use it in a different way too in the cities. So cooee is a calling that Australians would understand, and if you hear someone say cooee, then you return the cooee sound with a cooee as well. You can also use it to mean long distance, so you might say that their house was in such a remote place, it was in Cooee of a small town. So it means a long distance away, but not that long. Corroboree, that's an Indigenous Australian word, meaning a gathering of people, Indigenous Australians. So it's a group of people meeting. So you might have a corroboree. You can use it if you're not Indigenous, but usually it just means a meeting place, and usually people sit in a circle to meet. So corroboree. Cactus, not what you think it might mean. If you're feeling cactus, it means you're really tired or exhausted. So if you run a marathon and someone says, how are you feeling? You go, oh, I'm feeling really cactus. It also can mean unwell. So when someone says, yep, I'm feeling cactus, you know exactly what they mean. Coca. Coca is usually used when you want to say that something is really, really good. So you might say, the new car that my friend bought is a real corker. So corker means excellent and something that you approve of quite well. Here's an interesting one, Claytons. Now Claytons means something that's not genuine. Now it has its origin in a commercial for a drink that is a non-alcoholic drink that was supposed to taste like alcoholic drinks, and so it was called Claytons, and so we've used that in Australia for many years now, just to say, oh, you know, that's a Clayton's handbag rather than a real handbag. So Clayton's means not genuine. It's a fake. It's sort of okay, but not really the real thing. So Clayton's. And last one of my favourites, an Australian word for chicken, chook. So you want to throw a chook in the oven and cook for a roast meal. So chook in Australia means chicken. So that's all for the C words today, and I want to say thanks again for everyone and all the comments you've made and for all of the suggestions of new words. So please contact me, look at my blog, and contact me for other suggestions. And this is Kent from Oz saying beauty mate, and I'll see you on another How to Speak Australian video.